Welcome back everybody to another episode of our weekly Moto News Roundup, and we've got a packed show for you this time with new bikes from MV Agusta, from Yamaha, from KTM and from Enfield. An awesome new giveaway from Pando Moto. Kawasaki have got a new livery on their race bikes and also a sweet new offer for their 1100s. Suzuki are set to launch 2 new touring bikes. CF Moto's retro sports bike could be coming to the UK. FCR launch a cool kit for the Triumph Trident. Harley issue a big recall and also sell off part of their campus. The latest Panigale becomes a piece of art. And there's potentially a new name now for the middleweight Nortons that are launching later this year. But we've got to kick off this week with this stunning new Agostini edition of MV Agusta's spectacular sports bike, the Superveloce 1000. Now, just 83 of these bikes will be made available worldwide as a nod to the legendary 15-time GP World Champion's 83rd birthday this year. Now, like I say, it uses the incredible Superveloce 1000 as its base, so you get the same inline 4, and it makes over 200 horsepower. The hardware on the rest of the bike is the best of the best, and also there's an absolute abundance of technology and features. What makes this one special, though, is the finish with the iconic red and silver paint job, the yellow number boards on the sides, and so, of course, a finish like that has graced many a machine ridden by Agostini, and you'll also get a model number on a gold plate on the top yoke of each bike. I'd say as well the silver wheels help a bit with the heritage inspired look. It's gold wheels, I think, on the Superveloce Seri Oro. The winglets, they've done them in carbon as well instead of red, so I guess that draws a little less attention to them and fits in with the overall semi-retro theme. But I think the neatest touch of the whole bike might actually be the key. You see, it's got a little brass coin set into it, but it's no ordinary brass, because they've actually taken it from one of the trophies that Agostini won at Imola on a 500cc race bike. On top of all that, though, all 83 customers will also get a custom-made leather race suit courtesy of Dainese, and also an AGV Pista helmet, both of which have their own little references to Agostini's own helmet and leathers, like the World Champion stripes or the Italian flag on the lid. One heck of a package, I'm sure you'll agree, although unfortunately they have continued that 83rd birthday theme onto the price. Anyone hoping it'll be 83 quid is going to be sorely disappointed, for this one starts at 83,000 euro. For something a bit more affordable, you might want to look at Yamaha's off-road competition range, which has just been updated for the 2026 model year with tweaks to the YZ450F, along with the 250s and the 125. I think the 450 gets the most substantial update with a new engine, new frame and new suspension, so lots of tweaks to look into if you are into your dirt bikes. And all of them get new graphics as well, although you might have anticipated that it is over a blue base coat, so they don't look massively different to what you might expect. That said, one thing that did catch my eye, if you're willing to pay an extra 100 quid for each of these models, is that you can get them all in this new 70th anniversary paint job, which I think looks brilliant. It's sort of white, red and black. And they say it's inspired by the iconic YZM 400F, the first ever 4-stroke machine to claim victories in the Motocross World Championship and AMA Supercross, and by doing that, revolutionizing the sport. Super cool looking, if you ask me. Perhaps, though, the biggest announcement of the week is the new KTM 690 Enduro R, which is due to go on display next week for the first time in public at ABR Festival in the UK. Now, myself and Tim are going to be down there, so we'll try and capture a quick walk around of this bike if we can, although at the moment there's no specs or specific details on what they've changed and updated. There's no price either. And so if it looks like your cup of tea, you might want to keep your eyes peeled for later this year when it's all set to be announced. Question is, though, will KTM actually get it made? Production has been halted a couple of times already this year off the back of the financial difficulties that they ran into, which all culminated in them putting themselves into self-administration. According to Visor Down, though, production could be back up and running by the end of next month, with CEO of Pira Mobility Gottfried Neumeister saying, "I am relieved and grateful that we've finally been able to close this difficult chapter. Our focus is now on ramping up production at the end of July and realigning the group. So we might actually see some new 2025 KTMs rolling off the production line fairly soon, and clearly somebody believes him, because I got a press release this week titled New Jersey-based KTM dealer now open. Now, to be clear, that's not New Jersey, USA, it's actually New Jersey-based KTM dealer opens. So yeah, Jersey in the Channel Islands, and the dealer's called the Mansell Collection. It's Jersey's biggest bike shop apparently, and they've just taken on KTM, offering both new and used bikes, along with KTM parts, clothing, accessories and servicing. Now, on to our next giveaway, and I'm very excited about this one. It's in partnership with Pando Moto, who we thank for offering up this exceptional prize and also for supporting the channel. Pando, if you're not aware, make riding gear that I've actually been using for many years now, and the thing I really love about it is the fact that it's protective and practical and safe on the bike, but also it looks so good off it that you don't really feel the need to get changed. In fact, a lot of these shots, I'm wearing the shirt and jeans while wandering around at the Bike Shed show, for example. Most recently, I've been wearing their Capo shirt, which I think looks absolutely spot on. But also you've got armor, abrasion resistance, a cover to stop the zip scratching your tank, an extra popper at the neck to keep it securely closed, some reflective strips as well for safety. And so yeah, it's perfectly set up for safe and comfortable riding. And I've paired that with their Arnie Slim jeans. I've got them in the blue. Again, great looking jeans, but you've got all the usual certification and pockets for your armor and stuff like that. And they've also got a great range of apparel and accessories, such as the Ivy leather gloves, which I was wearing in a recent video on my first ride of the BMW R12S. So look, here's the deal. For my viewers, they've given us a package which will allow you to go on their website and choose a top or jacket of your choice in your size, a pair of their jeans in your color choice, size, style, and to finish it off, a pair of gloves, either the Ivies that I was wearing, or they have their Onyx gloves as well, which also look great. They're kind of perforated. I like that vibe, and also a bigger selection of colors with those ones. On top of that though, if you don't win, do not fear, because also we've got a discount code for the duration of this giveaway. So 10% off for anybody, and I'll leave that code down in the description. But also if you do enter the competition, you'll get a different code emailed to you, which will get you 15% off, which is very generous of them indeed. So certainly worth sticking your name in the hat. And I also want to add, this one's open globally, and also they've got a fantastic range of women's gear as well. So it truly is open to everyone. A massive thanks to Pando again for their fantastic gear and the price for this giveaway. And like I say, everything you need is down in the description. Right, quite a few new bikes to get through, so I'll try and rapid fire through them a bit, starting with this one, the FT450 from Royal Enfield. This one is a flat tracker built upon their Gorilla 450, except it's got a full exhaust system, a different throttle map, flat track bodywork, custom-made 18-inch wheels, a custom handlebar for a bit more leverage, and finished off in their own kind of graphic scheme, which gives it a bit of that race bike look. This one though can only be ridden at their slide school, which is a brilliant flat track school that's open to all abilities, and it's actually taught by multi-time UK and European flat track champion Gary Birtwistle. I've done it before, wholeheartedly recommend it, and a great way to get comfortable and more confident with the bike moving around underneath you and sliding about, which of course can translate to more control and confidence on the road in lower grip conditions. So even if you don't fancy becoming, the best of the best in terms of flat track racing, I think it's still worth a day out, and it's a really good laugh as well. On top of that, I also wanted to stick this custom build in that Enfield recently commissioned, just because it's beautifully done. It's by a Barcelona-based custom builder called Fuel Motorcycles, and basically the idea is they were tasked with coming up with something special to celebrate the launch of the Bear 650 Scrambler, and something special they definitely have produced. Basically, it's a rally-inspired build based upon the Bear 650, and they call it the Fury 650, taking inspiration from the Enfield Fury 500, which was a race bike that won California's Big Bear Run in the 1960s, ridden by Eddie Mulder. This build, though, while similar in ethos, I suppose, to some of the Scramblers of the past, looks a lot more modern with a contemporary Enduro front end, with a big 21-inch spoke front wheel and a super long travel upside down fork. Then there's a 19-inch wheel at the rear, Mitas Enduro tires at either end, and then visually you've got the handguards, the high front mudguard, the fork guards all painted in red, and a special paint job on the tank. Up top, a twin headlight with some protection around it, a rally windscreen, and then also the dash has been replaced by a smaller race dash and also a GPS road book. I really love this build. I think it looks amazing, and I'm sure it'd be an absolute blast to ride as well. Now, two bits of news from Kawasaki this week. Firstly, they're running a special livery for their ZX10R at British Superbikes this weekend, and I wanted to give it a quick mention because, again, it looks fantastic. They say it's inspired by the candy yellow paint job on their Z1 of the 1970s, which in turn inspired their current gen Z900RS Retro. That same sort of yellow and black vibe with the white details has made it onto this race bike for this weekend, which definitely isn't your usual Kawasaki green, but I think they've absolutely nailed it on this one. On top of that, the MD of the AJN Steel Stock team, Alan Boyden, is said to have quite the collection of classic Kawasaki's, some of which will be on display outside their hospitality unit, so almost certainly worth a look if you're heading down to Snetterton this weekend. The other thing as well from Kawasaki is they're running an offer at the moment to get a free sort of touring pack with either the brand new Ninja 1100 SX Sports Tourer or the new Versys 1100. If you get in before the end of the month, so you've got about a week, well, with the Ninja you'll get panniers, inner bags, a tank pad, and a taller windscreen all thrown in for free. And with the Versys, you'll get the exact same, but also some handguards for a little bit of extra wind protection when you're on the motorway. So certainly worth a look and a chat to the dealer if you were thinking about pulling the trigger on either of these this summer. Speaking of touring though, Suzuki might also be about to get involved with two new model names recently certified with the California Air Resources Board, which is the source of pretty much most new bike leaks nowadays. Now, one would be the GSX 8T, the other the 8TT, and so it doesn't take much imagination to realize that it's a pair of Tourers based upon their existing 800 platform. These will go toe-to-toe with the other middleweight Tourers like the Triumph Tiger Sport 660, the Yamaha Tracer 7, the Kawasaki Versys 650, and my guess would be two levels of spec, with the T being probably a base model and maybe the TT getting those extra touring goodies like the luggage and a big windscreen. In the lineup at the moment, you've got the V-Strom 800s, you've got the GSX 8S Naked, you've got the GSX 8R sports bike, and all of them, you know, one of the big strengths is a very smooth and torquey and rich engine, which would perfectly suit a touring bike like this. And also, I've got to say, the V-Stroms are really comfortable in the ride and ergonomics as well. So fingers crossed, the signs are pretty good for a couple of really accomplished long-distance bikes here. Now, a few months back, we reported on this striking-looking new retro-inspired sports bike from CF Moto called the 500 SR Voom, which really does catch the eye with those two round air inlets up on the front of the fairing, surrounded by the LED running lights. Thing is though, it should be pretty fun to ride as well because it's got a 500cc inline 4, so it should have some of that revvy retro sports bike charm, and also it makes decent power at around 80 horses peak. Unfortunately though, so far it's only been available on the Chinese market, but that could be about to change with a new set of design registrations that were recently picked up by Cycle World. This one looks like a slightly more sporty interpretation. It could be a 500 SRS, for example, with aero covers on the front brakes or, you know, little cooling ducts as well. A disc wheel at the rear, which should also help to improve aerodynamics, I guess. And so you could be looking at a more premium version that they might be getting ready for other markets. At least that's what some publications are speculating. Plus, they have actually started since last year exporting that base 500 SR to Australia. So fingers crossed they're going to expand that still further to the rest of the world, because I'd love to take one of these for a spin. Another option though for a slightly sporty retro could be this, which is a body kit recently released for Triumph's excellent Trident 660 by French custom builders and accessory makers FCR. Basically, it gives you a bit of a cafe racer vibe, which I quite like. And yeah, you can buy it as a kit with the seat unit, the under tray and the license plate holder, the seat padding itself, and also a little front fairing with a speedo relocation bracket. And you're looking at £2,179 in the UK for it unpainted if you want to do your own paint job, or £2,614 if you do want it painted. It is a decent chunk of cash on top of an already, £8-ish thousand bike, but it does transform it visually into something that's a bit more special than a standard Trident. Now, we have covered a number of times the difficulties recently that Harley have been facing with poor financial results in 2024, an attempted boardroom coup. And so probably the last thing that they could do with is a massive recall, but unfortunately that's exactly what they've got. Ride Apart reported this week that 82,000 Softails could be affected if they were built between 2018 and 2024. And the specific issue with these bikes is the mounting tab for the preload adjuster at the back there, which apparently is prone to breaking, and that would allow the adjuster to potentially rub against the rear tyre, and I'm sure you can imagine that could end up being pretty bad news. They say letters are already going out to owners, so if you do own one, then you might get something in the post. But in the meantime, if you do think you've got an affected bike and you haven't seen anything, then it could be worth speaking to your dealer. It was also reported this week that they actually sold off a bunch of their prestigious campers to a local whiskey distillery. Central Standard Craft Distillery apparently bought a 73,000 square foot section of the Harley headquarters in Milwaukee in order to scale up their operations by a massive 20 times. Sounds great for them, but what about Harley? I mean, is this just a shrewd move to make the most of some unused space? Or are they looking for every little cost saving in this particularly tough economic climate? Let me know what you think in the comments. Over at Ducati though, well, they just unveiled a new piece of art at their museum, which is a commission by emerging Italian artist Andrea Crespi. It's said to be based upon their new Panigale V4 Tricolore Italia, which itself is painted in the azzurro blue of the Italian national sports teams. Now, this lithograph on canvas, so a print, references that with the interweaving blue lines that together make up the silhouette of the Panigale V4 Tricolore Italia at an impressive 1:1 scale. Now, the bike, costing £75,000 in the UK, I'll remind you, was limited to just 163 units globally, and so they're giving those 163 customers the opportunity to purchase one of 163 prints, so you've got a matching picture of your bike on the wall. Must be very nice to be that rich. Now, we also recently reported on the fact that Norton are preparing to launch a middleweight retro bike later this year with a 450 parallel twin that's going to be made by their Indian owners at TVS, and it's the same engine that's going into the new BMW F450 GS. Thing is though, it looks like we might now have a name for the Norton, with Norton Electra recently trademarked in India. This is actually not a new name though, it's something that Norton used back in the 60s, and the interesting thing about it is that it was actually for a bike that was powered by a 400cc twin, so it would make a perfect fit for these new bikes. Thing is though, I've seen some other speculation on other publications that says that it might be a new Norton Electric, but at the moment, well, TVS haven't said anything about developing a new Norton Electric, but they have definitely confirmed they're working on the 450 twins, and so for me, it seems way more likely. As always, I'd love to know what you think of this week's story, so do let me know down in the comments below. And if you've missed any of our other videos from this week, I'll stick a playlist on the screen now so you can catch up on them. We've got a first ride of that beautiful BMW R12S, a first ride of the heavily updated Yamaha MT-07, and a look at the fastest motorcycles in 2025 from each of the major motorcycle manufacturers. Do hit subscribe for more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and I'll see you in the next video.